Welcome back to our Maine homestead and part 3 of building a semi-traditional root cellar. Today I'm going to be building a dry stone wall for the root cellar. I got the low air vent in place. That was episode 2 of this series, so if you haven't seen 1 or 2, we'll put a link to both of those videos up here. But once that's in, now I can build the rock wall kind of around it and in front of it. So this is the cold air vent that I recently built and installed. So this rock wall, this part of the box will be behind the rock wall. So the wall will sit basically on top of this box and come out roughly to where the vent enters into the floor of the root cellar. I will probably have to dig some of this out depending on how big the rocks are that I'm trying to use. So as I build up, I don't build all the way to the top at once. I try to build up sections and get close to the top and then come back in and fill with whatever size rocks I need to make it level-ish. The logs that I'm going to be placing on top obviously aren't uniform. They're not milled or anything. So I will make adjustments as I decide which log will be this first one, and then obviously all the way up. So I've got a few medium stones here, a lot of smaller stones. There are a couple of larger stones just outside the cellar but still inside the building. And then of course you saw me, I loaded up the mule with 8 or 10 larger stones. The idea with getting started typically is to place a course of large stones as your base and then build up from there. But first, I'm going to try to close in this area and build around this vent as kind of my starting point, and then make my way down and build up from there. So some smaller rocks to kind of fill that smaller area that's a void. Then a larger rock that just looked like it would fit. Doesn't always work that way. Once I get to that point, try to fill any of the dead space, not all of it, but just some of it, with some dirt, just to kind of pack it in there. Then I'm going to try to fit this stone up in that spot. And then I'll fill around it and kind of build up a little, and then fill this left side in. So that's kind of a good example of a couple of bigger stones, and then I placed this one here first just to kind of hold this from moving and give it, you know, just a stable base. A couple of larger stones, and then fill the smaller gaps with stones, really just to take up space. It does add some strength to it, but then just packing dirt in around those smaller and larger stones. And then now it's ready for try to find the right stone that fits there. So a couple of considerations as I'm building this. Number one, I want to try to have flat-ish stones, flat face stones toward the bottom anyway. Not always, and it's not uniform, of course. But as you're building up, I wouldn't want to place a big stone that fits, say, here and leave this little strip along the front open. If I do that, then that stone, unless I find the perfect stone to kind of wedge it in there building up, then that stone's got a tendency to fall off. So either finding a couple of stones that go this way, filling this in with some smaller ones, and then fitting a couple or maybe one larger stone that fits better going back and forth this way, which adds to the strength, or placing a stone back in here and then sitting a bigger stone on top of it so that this is kind of level-ish, and then the bigger stone balances right there. So that's a pretty good fit. Obviously got some gaps on this side which you can't see, and then you see the unevenness here, but as you build up, these will get filled in. You can pack dirt in there or pack smaller stones, but I'll point out this stone here has a tendency to rock. So when I get to that point, I just try to find a stone that will fit wherever the rocking point is. And that's pretty stable. It's not going anywhere, especially once you get the weight of the next course of stones and the next layer of stones and then all that log. As long as it's wedged in there like that, I don't think it's going anywhere. Basically, you're building from the front to the back. So I've gotten the vent kind of walled in, and I replaced up against that post the couple of rocks I knocked down when I removed the girt the other day. So now I think it's time to start placing the larger rocks along the base of the wall all the way across. Here's the first layer of the larger stones. I still have quite a few large stones. So next is to kind of fill around, behind, in between this layer of rocks. As I start building them up, I'll keep in mind where my next larger rocks, where I want them to fit, and try to kind of mold that area so that rock fits in there. Inevitably, I place it, have to pick it back up, make some adjustments, and then try to make it work. But the idea being to try to get the weight obviously pushing down on these rocks and into the dirt behind it, where it's been cut out, and kind of wedging everything in so I don't have any wobbling. have one more big stone that I'm hoping is going to fit right here. I'm not sure it's going to fit, but let's see. That looks pretty good now. So as I got up close to where the top of the wall will be, I started using smaller stones and dirt, you know, or packed around them, just to try to slowly bring it up to being close to level with the walls that are adjacent on either end of this wall. So that finishes up the fourth and final wall in the cellar. Here's a look at all four just going around the interior of the cellar. Now that that's done, I can start building the log walls up. So that's the next video in this series. That's coming up soon. Thanks again for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already, and leave us a comment or ask questions in the comment section. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.